Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex, and my co-host Anthony, the Great Rivardo, big Star Wars fan. If you haven't watched The Mandalorian yet, go do it. He knows all about it. He'll answer your questions, guys, people that I don't even know in the show. He's got your information, but
It's true.
we're here for the New York Giants, aren't we, Anthony? And
Yep.
we have relative Star Wars characters that could be matched up. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi's kind of like Joe Judge, just kind of leading the way, disciplining guys. No, you don't think so? Who would you make? Who would Joe Judge be?
I don't know, man. Don't put me on the spot because that's something I want to think out.
I feel like
Both of these two
Anakin's like
things very
OBJ.
seriously.
Anakin
Oh my
was
God,
OBJ
that's
when he was
good.
here.
That is good. Anakin
Right?
is Odell Beckham. That's actually really good.
Yeah, because he
I like
kind of like goes to the dark side a little bit, and then Dave Gettleman cuts his legs off. So
I guess
This is-
Daniel Jones is kind of like Luke then, right? He's kind
yeah,
of like
I guess he is kind of like, except he does, except he has an actual hand, unless he turns it all over because he
Right.
has a fake hand.
yeah. I feel like he's like kind of the young guy who's the new hope. You know, the new hope for the franchise.
That's true.
That's
The
Luke.
New Hope.
Mhm.
And who's
know.
Mandalore? Who's Mandalore? Like Leonard Williams? He kind of just stays quiet and does his thing, goes on quests.
I think that works. I like that.
That works. All right. Well, you got our comparisons, Jedi, Star Wars to the New York Giants, real quick. But we're really here to talk about the best free agents of the class, right? Of this past offseason. The Giants had some really good free agent picks this year. And shout out to Dave Gettleman, who may or may not have been a significant part in this. We're going to kind of chat about that, what we think, what his part might have been in signing these guys. But just to refresh your memory, they signed James Bradberry. They signed Blake Martinez. They signed Kyler Fackrell, Graham Gano. I even throw in Leonard Williams in there because he's on a franchise tag. He basically was a free agent. They just had control of him. So I'm going to throw him in there as well. Am I missing anybody else? They got Cam Fleming.
Cam Fleming, that's what I was going to say. Deion Lewis was signed this offseason.
I guess I got
Colt McCoy. Levi
McCoy.
Toilolo. Kyler Fackrell.
Ugh.
Cody Core, they re-signed him. They signed Nate Ebner. Corey Coleman. He's
a lot of
he's
special
not even
teams
with
guys.
the team. Austin Johnson, who's actually played pretty decently when he's on the
he
field.
has. Austin Justin has been playing pretty well as a rotational guy in the interior defense, but for the most part, we want to talk about the three primary free agent signings this year and why they've been so good. So obviously, we're going to have James Bradberry, the number one spot in this lineup, and we're just going to start and then go through each player individually. So we'll start with James Bradberry. Now, what he has done for this defense has been borderline insane. Without him this season, I don't think the defense is even close to what they're capable of. What we're looking at right now in terms of their potential. Compared to Janoris Jenkins last year, this is kind of crazy. Janoris Jenkins allowed 188 yards and 3 touchdowns in one game to Mike Evans against Tampa Bay last year. Flash forward to this year, and suddenly you have Bradberry, who's only allowed 3 touchdowns all year through 10 games, and 2 of them came in the first game against Pittsburgh. So I'll give him a break for that first game in the new system. He's been an absolute monster. Philadelphia found that out last week when they decided to target him for 8 times, 2 completions, 15 yards. Doug Peterson, what is your problem, man? Why are you going to pick on the best cornerback in the NFC East, if not in football right now? He has better coverage grades.
It's
than
because he's one of the
Jalen
worst
Ramsey.
coaches in the NFL right now. So,
Exactly.
it
Him and
makes sense.
Carson Wentz are sleeping in bunk beds right now and talking about how they can mess up the Eagles even worse than they already have. So now we're looking at James Bradberry, who wants to help them. And he has been an absolute stud. He limited Allen Robinson to basically an irrelevant, a non-factor stat line. Had that insane interception against Chicago. He's had, I think, 3 interceptions this year. He ranks 6th in the league among the cornerbacks in the league in that category. And then he ranks 12th in the league in NFL quarterback passer allowed. So NFL quarterbacks are literally unable to get anything going against him. I think that his passer rating is a 68.2 against, right? So quarterbacks, you just don't throw him the ball, right? That's not what you want to do, Anthony. And I think they're starting to finally figure that out, especially in the NFC East. Eagles want to pick on him, go ahead. But Patrick Graham has really gotten him involved in this defense. And I want you to talk about a little bit how he's done that and why is James Bradberry suddenly having a career year in a season where we didn't really expect him to be this good.
Well, I'll throw out a few stats as well. So In our last game against Philadelphia, 5 Giants played 100% of the snaps on defense. James Bradberry was one of them. Isaac Yiadom was also one of them, which is actually pretty surprising to see a cornerback play 100% of snaps. Usually they get at least a play or two off, right? Like on the goal line or something. There's certain packages where
Bradberry's played all
cornerbacks
of
come
it,
out.
except for one
He
game.
played 100% of the snaps on the defense, so that was pretty insane. And that's just the kind of guy he is. He's always going to be out there, and he's always going to deliver, right? He's done an excellent job this year. And if you just compare him to the rest of the Giants secondary, right? He's been targeted 46 times and allowed 27 completions for a 58.7 completion percentage. The rest of the Giants secondary has been targeted 134 times, allowed 91 completions, a 67.9% completion percentage. So he's 9% in completion better than the rest of the defense. He has 3 interceptions, and the rest of the defense has 1. So he's been a complete playmaker. The rest of the Giants secondary is allowing a 116.3 quarterback rating compared to Bradberry's 65.5. So he's been a shutdown cornerback. He has really held this team together. And another thing, he's been a true playmaker. He has 14 forced incompletions this season,
crazy.
which is the most by a cornerback according to Pro Football Focus. Really, he's just phenomenal. He's been as good as you could possibly want your cornerback to be, your number one cornerback. He's truly been a number one CB1 for this team, and I'm super impressed with it. I think that, a lot of the reason he came over here, he had a connection with Dave Gettleman from Carolina. Gettleman drafted him in the second round back in, I think it was 2016 or whenever it was. So they had that connection, so we got to give some props to Dave Gettleman there. And it was an excellent signing. It was one that I wasn't too thrilled about when it happened because I wasn't sure, how he was going to do on this new team. And, it was more really just because I really wanted Byron Jones. And so far, Byron Jones has not been half of the player that James Bradberry has been. And, that's something that I could say I'm really grateful for, the fact that we didn't sign Byron Jones for the lucrative contract that we signed him for. I mean, that was a ridiculous contract anyway. That was a lot of money. So I'm really happy with everything that James Bradberry's done this year. Yeah, long term and a lot of money. Really no way out of that one. At least with the Bradberry contract, if he wasn't playing at this level, you could get out of it pretty quick. But that Byron Jones contract, Miami's locked into that for a long time. So.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. You're spot on. And Bradberry signed a 3-year, $43.5 million deal. He's only being counted $10 million against the cap this year. They pretty much have an out after the second season. Very, very minimal dead cap. I think he has $29 million dead cap this year if they were to cut him now. So they really front-loaded this deal in terms of dead money so they could get out of it later. That's why they were kind of stretched this season, but a lot of that money will come off of the cap going into next season. You'll see that because the dead money is gone. And it'll open up some flexibility in free agency for them. But like you mentioned, Bradberry has 14 passes defended. That's almost his career high. He had 15 in 2018 over 16 games. So he's on pace for much more than that. And it's really just because every time opposing quarterbacks are targeting him, he's usually getting to the ball first. There was 2 plays specifically against the Eagles. One of them was on third and one of them was on fourth down. He managed to get there before the ball. And it was just, that is what a good cornerback does. They read routes. They manage to jump in front. They watch film, and he's known to be a very, very humble player, right? People know he's quiet. He goes about his business. He's not egotistical. He's not this high energy guy like Jabril Peppers. He kind of does his thing, and he shows up and he plays like a monster. That's what
he's
we want.
The Mandalorian. James Bradberry is the Mandalorian.
He's the Mandalorian. He's quiet. He goes on his mission, and when people try to attack him, he kind of messes him up. Kind of messes him up big time. Yeah. So, that's really what we're looking at here in a player that gets the job done, 57.4% completion rate against. His biggest fault is tackling. He's missed almost 16% of his tackles, but he can miss all the damn tackles if he wants to keep playing like this. Because how many times are players actually catching the ball and he's being forced to tackle? That's the big thing. Like 2 receptions on 8 targets for 15 yards against the Eagles, and they had Alshon Jeffrey back and Jalen Reagor. So we're looking at a player that's playing at the top of his game. This might be the best season he'll ever have, and hopefully it rolls over into next year and he compiles these statistics and builds on it in Patrick Graham's scheme with some better players. Maybe Xavier McKinney comes back and helps him just take out a portion of the field. But the way they've used him has been really, really, really good too. And what I mean by that is, not only have they asked him to man up against number 1 receivers, but they've also asked him to play zone coverage, this soft zone, where they actually have him take away a whole section of the field. Like, theoretically, if you can take away a section of the field, or really a side of the field. And then you have Isaac Yadam, Ryan Lewis, these guys that we don't necessarily trust at CB2 on the other side. You can provide help for them. You can help them. But you just need James Bradberry to go into that one side of the field, get the job done, and really take it away. That way it forces the offense to focus on the weak side, which would be Isaac Yadams or the CB2 position, and then you provide help with Logan Ryan, Julian Love, Jabril Peppers, whoever it might be. You just soft zone coverage. And I know we all hate the soft zone because we know we have the players and the talent to really man up. But I think the soft zone really is to keep things in front of them, not allow big plays, because Yadam and Ryan Lewis gave up a ton of deep plays. That was the big concern. So, they're really trying to do a kind of a blend and really mitigate any of those big shots downfield. And I think the soft zone's been working because our defense ranks, I think 12th in points allowed per game and 6th against the run, 24th against the pass. But still, they're getting better. That number and that ranking is getting better every week. Now, do you have anything else to add to James Bradberry before we move on to the next player?
Yeah, I just think the last 2 weeks that he's had are like kind of utterly insane.
Flawless.
In week 9, he was targeted 0 times, meaning no one was ever open when he was in coverage. He literally just had everybody shut down the entire game. They didn't even bother testing him. And then Philadelphia, it's just so funny. Like, Washington targets him 0 times because they know he's such a threat. Mm-hmm. And then Philadelphia is like, no, we're going to target him 9 times. And then they complete 3 passes for 23 total yards. And I don't know. That's just that's funny to me. I hate the Eagles, and I think that's really funny. And then it's just like really interesting though when you look at his season that he's had. There's like week 4 against the Rams, 100% completion percentage in his coverage, right? Okay, 3 for 3 for 7 yards. He's like not allowing anybody to gain yardage on him or get open. He's had a couple of outliers. Right. He's had 1 or 2 kind of bad games, right? Tampa Bay wasn't his best, and neither was week 1 against the Steelers. But really, everything else has been near flawless. He's just been an excellent lockdown cornerback this season, and he's gone up against a lot of really good, talented players as well. And he has locked up pretty much every single one of them. I remember week 2 against Chicago. That was a great performance that he had, and that was against Allen Robinson. And, the Bears have a pretty good receiving corps. So, I don't know, man. He's just really, really good, and I'm really excited to have him on the Giants. I might have to get his jersey at this point. He's been so good.
I know. I mean, against Allen Robinson, man, 6 targets, 1 reception, 14 yards. 3 pass breakups, and an interception. You can't ask for more than that. He also caused another interception, tipped in. Julian Love picked it off. And Love is from Chicago, so that was a big game for him, and he loves playing against that team. He had his first interception against them last year. So, this is a guy who really had his worst game of the season against Pittsburgh in week 1, and ever since then, he hasn't let up a pass over 20 yards. What more can you ask from your number 1 cornerback? He's kept everything in front of him. He's mitigated big plays. He's come up big on 3rd and 4th downs. I mean, he's shut down some of the best receivers in the game. I mean, against Tampa Bay, he let up 46 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the touchdowns, it is what it is, but 46 yards against Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller. They have a very legit wide receiver corps. But overall, I think we can say he's a fantastic player. The Giants are very lucky to have him. And the number 2 guy, which I'm sure all of you guys can guess.
Well, what do you grade the Bradberry signing? Considering the contract and the performance, what do you grade it so far? Through 10
I would
weeks?
grade that's an A+, man. 100% A+. The money,
I'd agree.
The money itself,
I'd agree.
The money itself is very good for the Giants. They give himself an out. They didn't overspend on Byron Jones, who got 5 years, and the Dolphins are locked into his contract. Now he's actually missed a game or 2 this season. And Bradberry, he fits the scheme perfectly. He's humble. He's a good locker room guy. He's not going to go crazy and do what Janoris Jenkins did and get his way out of there somehow. He's a good guy you want in the locker room who's gonna mentor the younger guys with his example. He's not gonna teach them, but people are gonna follow his lead because he's a very talented player who stays quiet, studies his film, and he gets what needs to be done. So I think A+. What do you think? Same?
I'd give it an A or an A+. Yeah, I think, when you look at the money, like you said, his cap hit's only $10 million this year, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. I think that he's been an all-pro player. Anytime you sign a guy and he goes on to be an all-pro player, I think it's got to be an AA+ signing, right? So really happy with it. I'd give it an A+, but curious to see after we discuss this next guy what you would give him, because I feel like our grades might be slightly different there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, before we move on to the next guy, I do want to say I think that Gettleman played about a 50% part in this because of experience with it, but I think Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, really had a say this past offseason on who he wanted on his defense. He really thought and really got the guys he wanted to fit his scheme. So I think that's important to know when you look at a lot of these rookies, a lot of these players. He's fit them perfectly into the scheme, and I think the free agent signings were very much a part of that. So I say it's 50-50, Dave Gettleman and the rest of the coaching staff.
I think that I think that's going to come a lot more into play once we speak about this next guy, who is Blake Martinez. Obviously he is a former Green Bay Packer. He was with them from 2016 to 2019, and he was a player who I was not excited about when we signed him. I really wasn't. I was pretty vocally like, let's stay away from him, just because what he is, Blake Martinez, or what he was in Green Bay at least, was a pure run defender who could not cover for jack. And after watching Alec Ogletree all those years, I was like, you know what? I want a coverage linebacker. I want a guy who can cover. But you know what? I think really what it was is I just wasn't totally familiar with Patrick Graham's scheme and wasn't totally familiar with the way that the inside linebacker position plays their role in that defense, because Blake Martinez has played that role exceptionally. He has a defined role in this defense. He's not asked to play in coverage very often at all, and that's really beneficial for him. He's been excellent against the run, which is really all he's needed to be. So that's something where, I think if he went to another team and he was asked to play in coverage a lot, it wouldn't have worked, because last year with Green Bay, he was asked to play in coverage a lot, and it did not work at all. It was complete failure. It really exploited his weaknesses, but I think it's just another testament to Patrick Graham and this Giants coaching staff and Joe Judge that they are really delivering on their promise of making players play to their strengths and not having them do anything that they're uncomfortable with or anything that would exploit a weakness. So I'm very excited with that. Really, this signing is more of a testament to the coaching staff than it is to just Blake Martinez, in my opinion.
This is a Patrick Graham signing 100% through and through, and you could see that because he knew what strengths Blake Martinez was bringing to the defense. And you look at James Betcher last year with DeAndre Baker, playing him in this soft zone coverage, not manning him up in press, completely exploited his weaknesses and allowed teams to beat him that way. And it just didn't work. And now we're finally seeing the coaching staff saying, okay, we're not going to force players into our scheme. We're going to get players that fit our scheme, and we're going to utilize their strengths to make sure that they excel. And that's what we're seeing with Bradberry. We're seeing it with Martinez. And Martinez is a primary run-stopping linebacker. That is his goal. But when he was with Green Bay, and even Martinez said this prior to the start of the season, that Green Bay did not value the middle linebacker spot. They really used him to mitigate big plays. And if you ever watched his highlights, he really just kind of sits back and he waits for running backs to come to him. He waits for them to make the move. He's really just trying to stop them from breaking free into the zone. And they're really relying on this 4-3 defense to shut it down. But with the Giants this year, he's done a phenomenal job and actually plugging these holes. He's being very aggressive, which is what you want to see. He has I think he has 41 stops, which is basically a measurement to dictate a running back or a runner gaining 40% or more of the first down yardage, right? So he stopped 41 times ball carriers from reaching 40% of the first down yardage. So he's been really, really good at being aggressive, getting to line of scrimmage, getting after these ball carriers and shutting them down. And he's also been a really good pass rusher too. He has 2 sacks on the year, but he does phenomenal things when it comes to delayed blitzes, stunts, helping his defensive line expose poor offensive lines like the Eagles the past few weeks. This year the NFC East is a garbage can just waiting to be, refilled every week. So it's kind of like Blake Martinez is just having his pickings with these offensive lines and these shallow crossing routes. Even his coverage grades are even improving, which is exactly what Anthony talked about earlier. We didn't expect him to be so good in coverage. And I don't want to call him good or great, but I'll call him average, which is better than we thought he would be by a fair margin, right?
Well, I just think it's mainly the way that they're using him in coverage, because they're really not forcing him to stick to mans, and shallow. They really haven't asked him to do a whole lot in coverage, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think that he's good in coverage, so I think that it's just he's a perfect scheme fit. Patrick Graham, of course, worked with Green Bay in 2018. Blake Martinez really had a career year that year, and that was when Patrick Graham was the linebackers coach for that team. So they knew each other very well. Patrick Graham knew how to get the most out of him, and once he got the position as defensive coordinator of the New York Giants, he knew that Blake Martinez would be a perfect scheme fit in the defense that he wanted to run. He kind of built it around a guy like Blake Martinez. Really, he built it around Blake Martinez. So he was the perfect guy to get for this scheme, and so far he's been He's another player who's been excellent. He's been another great free agent signing. And I think he'll grade pretty solidly on mine, but I'm not completely blown away with the signing because I do still feel like the Giants at some point need to get a linebacker that can cover. And I know we talked in our last episode about Jabril Peppers maybe playing more money backer, and I know that looking ahead to the draft, we're going to be talking about that guy Micah Parsons, same way we were talking about Isaiah Simmons last offseason. So
Simmons would have been a revelation on that defense.
I think,
oh my god.
Yeah, the way that I see it, man, is Blake Martinez would have killed this role that he's in, like he's killing it now. But then if you had another linebacker beside him, like Isaiah Simmons playing another role, and I know Simmons got off to a really slow start this season, which is kind of expected.
Patrick Graham would have killed it with him.
I feel like, Simmons struggled because they didn't know what to do with him because he's such a unique player. There's never been a prospect like him, right? So they had to figure it out. But now he's been playing. He's been flying around that Arizona defense these last few weeks, and he has looked really, really good. So, yeah, it does, if he was in this defense, I feel like it would be otherworldly. But, he's not. It is what it is. Maybe, we'll end up with Micah Parsons in the draft. That's probably my number one target at this point if we're looking ahead. But
yeah, if we don't win the NFC East, it should be him or Jamar Chase, in my opinion. Both of those guys are,
but that's the thing,
generational talents.
That's the thing, though, is we're gonna win the NFC East. So
right. So then that pushes us all the way to the 17th pick if we win the NFC East. So now, then
the 32nd pick. The 32nd pick.
Oh, because we're winning the Super Bowl too.
Right. Yes.
Right. I forgot about that. I forgot you live in an alternate universe where things like that happen. Are there Lollipop Guild too? Is Willy Wonka there?
Actually, there's lightsabers. It's really, I'm in a galaxy far, far away. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We're just going to continue with the Star Wars, like the motif of this video is Star Wars jokes.
Yeah. Baby Yoda's there? Is he giving you information? Can he even speak English?
Baby Yoda cannot speak English. It's like a backwards English. It's like do or do not. There is no try,
Yeah, no, I get that. But, the Giants win the Super Bowl is like literally the pinnacle of pipe dreams, right? The epitome of pipe dreams.
We've seen pipe dreams happen, though. We've seen it happen.
Okay, look. We've seen pipe dreams happen, but that's beyond pipe dream. That's like if they win the Super Bowl, I will give you $100 on the spot.
Okay, bet.
Yeah. And if they don't, you owe me 100.
No, I don't take that bet.
Okay.
That's a bet I'm not willing to make.
I'll give you $100 if they win the Super Bowl. But cool. The chances of them winning the NFC East are already going to be tough. This is not a great division by any means. The Giants are trending upward, but the Dallas Cowboys have like the easiest schedule of the 4 teams. And we talked about this in the video on Monday. State of the NFC East, go check it out, and we talk about all the schedules coming up and what to expect going forward in this division. But when it comes to Blake Martinez, back to him a little bit, he's only allowed the most yardage in any game he's allowed this season, 45 yards, right? And that was against Tampa Bay. So, this is another important factor to mention. He's had almost 100 additional coverage snaps compared to run defense snaps. So that's also important. He's been in coverage almost 100 times more than in run defense. And he's actually done quite well. The most yards he's given up is 45. But he's playing more of this soft zone, like kind of just shading back into coverage, kind of just spying on the quarterback. I think that's kind of what they've wanted him to do because they don't trust him. He's always played his own coverage. Even when he's within Green Bay, he doesn't have that speed to man up. And this soft zone is really what they've been utilizing. And Martinez has done relatively well. He's had allowed an 80 passer rating against him, which is like okay, and not great, not bad. It's probably good, average, like we said before. But I think overall, I've been impressed with how well he's played compared to what we saw from him in his highlights and everything he was bringing from Green Bay. I will give him that. I'm very impressed at what we've seen so far. I would probably give this grade I'd probably give it a B. I think a B is fair.
See, I thought you were going to come in with a higher grade and be really excited about this, and I was like, well, I'd give it a solid B.
Because he's doing exactly what we expected him to do. He's doing exactly what we expected him with the run defense. He's not blowing us away in coverage, but he's doing well in run defense, and that's exactly what he's good at.
I'll also say that Week 10 game that he had against Philadelphia was really, really bad. So hopefully hopefully he can bounce back from that because that was a tough performance. But that happens. That's okay. So hopefully he bounces back from that
next
week. And we got the win. He definitely wasn't like a liability, but it was a bad performance. So hopefully he bounces back because I do think he will because he's been pretty great this year.
Yeah.
So It
He
was
had
a
his
rough
least
game,
tackles of the year.
but you know
3
who
tackles.
hasn't had a rough game this year
Oh,
at
don't even say
any
it.
point this year?
Don't even say it.
It's our number 3 guy on
Say
the
it.
on the video, Graham Gano. He has not had a rough moment this year. Well, he missed one kick, but you know what? He's been near perfect, like literally statistically near perfect. He's only missed
Yeah.
one kick the entire season. Graham Gano has been excellent, and I'm just, there you have to give so much props to Gettleman, Judge, Thomas McGahee as well, the coaching staff. Anybody who had a hand in bringing Graham Gano in, you have to give them a lot of props because they took a chance on a guy who was coming off of a significant injury as a kicker.
Yeah.
He missed the entire
injury,
season, entire 2019 season as a kicker, and now he's here kicking lights out. So that's amazing. They took a chance on a guy, and it's completely paid off. And this is actually probably my favorite free agent signing just because it's been so good, and it was so unexpected. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah. He's an A+ signing, but you want to hear a dad joke real quick? I have
Oh
one
God.
for you.
Okay, fine. I'll hear it. I'll suffer.
He's so good, he's even kicking, he's even kicking COVID's ass.
That's true.
That's not
It's
terrible.
true. Good for him. Good for him. Good for him. He did kick
It's not the
COVID's
worst
ass.
dad joke.
It wasn't the worst dad joke, but I'm not a fan of the dad jokes. You know this, Alex. Our long-term viewers know this. Our long-term
he doesn't
viewers
like dad
who used to
jokes.
tune into the live streams remember when we would play Fortnite, how bad all of your dad jokes would
This
be.
is the new Jedi.
Even worse
this is the
than
new
Fortnite.
Star Wars, Return of the Dad jokes.
With that being said, my goodness.
No, Graham Gano, seriously, absolute stud. The guy broke a freaking record, Super Bowl era record, hitting 3 50-yard field goals, 3 50+ yard field goals against Dallas in week 5, right? 4 field goals made. 3 of them were from 50+ yards. That's
Yeah.
like insane. And he's
That
missed
is
one kick
actually
against Chicago.
insane. That is
Right,
like
one kick he's
really
missed all year.
insane. And his longest
Having
kick
a
this year
bad
is
kicker,
55.
oh, right? No, you're right. He's hit 95.5% of his field goals this
Yeah.
year, 100% of his extra points, and let me tell you, having a bad kicker in the NFL is literally killer. Those 3
yeah.
points, they come back to bite you in the ass. Those missed extra points always come back to bite you in the ass. Always. Most teams at least, unless you're like scoring 50 points a game, but that doesn't happen very often. The Giants need every point they can get, and Graham Gano is giving them, over and over and over again every single time. And he has COVID right now. He might actually not be able to play against the Bengals, but hopefully, I think he's trending in the right direction to be able to be cleared. But if he's not able to play, they're gonna have to sign someone off the waiver wire for a week. That's what all happens.
I think they have a guy that they're going to elevate from the practice squad in that scenario is what I read. It's this like linebacker-sized kicker. Did you read about that? They have a kicker on their practice squad who is the size of a linebacker, and apparently he can actually kick a football, and it's kind of funny. So if he does go
he an
out
actual
there,
kicker?
that would be, yeah, no, he's a kicker. He played kicker in like college or whatever, and he can kick the ball. He is just the size of a linebacker, and it's really funny. Yeah, go ahead.
Why hasn't someone just become a kicker and punter and saved an active roster spot so that way they could allocate it elsewhere? Why isn't there a kicker who can also punt? I feel like it's not that hard. There should be.
They're two different skills, and it's also how much strain do you want to put on your leg in a day of practice and a game day? How much strain can you put on your
I played soccer my
leg?
entire life. I promise you it's not that much.
Well,
It's not that much.
it's specialization, though, right?
Right,
Specialization
yeah,
is
but
a key in
if you have
every
a guy who
aspect of
can do
everything.
both, you pay them more, right? You pay them more, and you're saving an active roster spot. I feel like they should try to start
But if you can find a
if
guy who's really good at kicking, and then another guy who's even better than him at punting, wouldn't you want to, wouldn't you want to get that improvement in both areas?
Well,
Like,
yeah, but
Riley Dixon
why aren't
hit a
they training
72-yard
both, though?
punt. That guy is a beast. 72-yard punt from Riley Dixon. Like, he's been
Oh
phenomenal
yeah,
this
it's
year as well.
incredible. It's incredible, but I feel like as a youthful kicker, I'm like,
Because maybe
I should
it
get
is that
both.
different. Maybe it is that different, though.
Maybe it is that different.
Maybe it
It
really
is.
is that much of a difference.
The mechanics of it are different. I'll give you that. They are different, but at the same time, you can make the argument with any position, right? Like Jabril Peppers played offense and defense in college. He returns punts and plays linebacker. Julian Love can play cornerback, safety, and linebacker if he wanted to. You know what I mean? Like players are able to play multiple positions, but for whatever reason, when it comes to kicker and punter, these guys like refuse to do both. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that.
Take what you're best at, and don't put square pegs around holes. I think it's the Joe Judge logic. Take them for whatever they're best at, and just have them do only that.
I feel like that's like an old school.
Okay, here's another
NFL
thing though. A lot of the punters specialize in holding snaps, and a lot of kickers probably don't have that skill and never would.
Yeah, but quarterbacks can do that.
They can.
Backup. What other reason do you have a backup quarterback for?
I don't know. In case your quarterback
Tony Romo
breaks a leg.
held kicks for his whole entire career.
That is the worst example you could have brought up.
Well, yeah, I know because
he literally choked in the playoffs. Yeah, and that one was so costly.
But what you get what I'm saying? A lot of back. It's like, what else are they doing? I mean, I get they're supposed to be learning the offense just in case, but you might as well, learn how to freaking catch a football and put it down. It's not.
I don't know, man. Riley Dixon's so damn good at it.
Have a receiver do it. How about that? They can catch really well.
I don't know, man. What do you grade the signing? What do you grade the signing?
Parker, and then you're dropping it every time, or Evan Ingram. Yep. You might
remember
find
Preston
yourself.
Parker. Preston Parker literally could not catch a football.
I don't even know how he was on an NFL team. I don't even know how he was on.
I don't either. How did that happen? Like legitimately, how did he?
Had some pretty underrated giant, Dominic Hickson.
Yeah, Dominic Hickson is great. I really like.
I love Dominic Hickson.
Injuries derailed his career. You want overrated giant Ruben Randall? That guy was so bad. Eli Manning carried him. He made him look so good. Ramses Barden was terrible.
I know, overrated.
I know. I don't think anybody rates him that well. Like some people actually think that Ruben Randall was decent though because he made a couple of highlights.
He had a couple nice catches. Also underrated, Mario Manningham. That catch against San Francisco for the touchdown to put us in the lead. Never forget.
Yeah, that's one that people don't talk about a lot. They talk about the Super Bowl catch, but they don't talk about that one a lot.
He had a really good catch, that one where he got whipped down against San Francisco.
Yeah. And Cruz had a freaking beastly 130-yard game or something that game. So
that was the game that Eli got his noggin rocked over and over again.
Yeah, dude, I'll never forget that game. I remember every.
That was Eli's best game. That was Eli's best game of his entire career, in my opinion.
That's my favorite Eli game.
That was Iron Man, literally Iron Man coming to save the day. Like over and over again, getting back up, somehow managing to make plays downfield, throwing pretty much with his eyes closed, throwing balls to Ahmad Bradshaw. Remember that one on the left sideline. And then obviously the Victor Cruz one downfield that he puts in the basket. And Eli gets up and there's his chin straps around his forehead and there's grass all up in his grill. Oh, man.
Yeah,
I miss the good old days.
Yeah, man. And Cruz was going up against one of the best cornerbacks in the league that game. So, yeah, football, I don't know. I still love it, though.
Who was the
Eli,
then?
But I actually can't remember this guy's name, but I know that he was really, really good that season. It was Carlos or something. Carlos Rogers. Does that sound right? Does Carlos Rogers sound right?
I have no idea.
He was really good that year. Whoever their number one cornerback was like really dominant that year. They had a dominant defense. That defense was insane.
Elite. They were
their defensive line was ridiculous. They had Justin Smith and Alden Smith and someone else who I can't remember. Oh, Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman. They had.
Oh my god. They had Navarro Bowman. Didn't they?
Yeah, no, that team was literally like so good. They should not. They should have won those Super Bowls and they never did. But oh well.
Good for us.
It happens. Yep. I'm not complaining.
That punt, that fumble on the punt, remember that? That set us up for the win. Lawrence Tynes, baby.
Of course I do.
Kicked us to the Super Bowl.
Twice he did that. What a beast.
Twice. Yeah.
Graham Gano update. Graham Gano is kicking field goals in his own house. He's got a kicking net set up in his house, and he's kicking field goals, and he looks good. I
can just imagine
healthy.
Him kicking them through those windows and stuff, aiming for windows.
It literally goes right directly towards a window, which is actually really funny. But he's got a net. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the screen for this video. But that's really funny.
Interesting. Okay, well, Graham Gano, you got to do what you got to do. It looks like he's in good spirits. He's probably asymptomatic if he's kicking field goals in his own house, which is pretty good news. They activated Riley Dixon and Casey Kreider. They were close contacts via the tracing protocol. So, they're back in. The Giants seem to be in good spirits. They're pretty much healthy across the board now. They're getting a bunch of players back that we mentioned in the previous videos. Xavier McKinney, Ocean Ximenez, Adrian Colbert, and Tay Crowder. So a bunch of these guys are going to be playing against Cincinnati, if not against are they playing after that? Seattle, right? Or Seattle, right? Or Arizona? Seattle.
We keep messing them up. I think it's Arizona. I think it's Arizona.
Okay. Either way, they're going to be playing against those guys, hopefully. But no, the Giants, the rest of the NFL is a mess right now. Baltimore has like half their team hitting the COVID-19 list. So we'll see how that works out. But I can't wait for next year, really, just because I don't want to deal with the COVID thing anymore. I don't want to get scared every time like I wake up and see there's like breaking news for the Giants. Like a bunch of players might or might not have it at this point. It's just a mess, man. Just a mess. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video mixed with Star Wars and Gano kicking field goals inside of his house, Blake Martinez stopping the run, and a little bit of James Bradberry as the Mandalorian, making plays quietly, silently, killer. He's just a silent killer is what he is. But my friend Anthony, I'll let you give the final remarks.
Yep. He's the silent killer, and that ambulance that's driving by your house is not. It is very noisy.
That's James Bradberry that just killed someone.
Oh,
on the football field.
Okay, that makes sense. James Bradberry is a beast. I'm very excited, to see these guys continue to play well. What? Dude, you're cutting out.
James Bradberry.
Yeah, he's a badass. James Badass Bradberry. Does that work? Do we like that? Is that the new nickname? I think the Mandalorian is cooler. I think it's very fitting for his personality type. Anyway, may the force be with you all. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.